Interesting episode. Couple takeaways. Number one, Angel, you need to get your insufferable, irritating, colorist ass off the show. I'm tired of you. You're annoying. Your footage at BravoCon was annoying. Bitch, get off the show. And secondly, Stacy, wow. I now understand why the ladies call you fake and don't trust you.
Welcome to the Asia Esterak Hour, where film meets conspiracy and pop culture gets a reality check. From sharp recaps to sci-fi theories and media deep dives, Asia Esterak serves it unfiltered. Let the binge begin.
All right. Welcome back to the Asia Esterak Hour. I'm Asia Esterak. Fix that. Okay. The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 10, Episode 8. So we are still at the DC World Pride Day, and Monique has come in, and the ladies are addressing Stacy about knowing Chris. Of course, Kay's messy ass is the one that brings it up. Stacy's like, yes, I know Chris socially. So then Kiana's like, well, we'd heard that like maybe you guys were dating or something. You know, we had heard that you had inquired about him, and Stacy, politician answer. And Monique, who didn't give a damn, goes, well, we've been divorced for 2 years. So, I mean, he could date whoever he wants. And in her confessional, she's like, I really don't care as long as she likes kids. So Stacy was just like, wow, that was kind of messy. I think someone, or Wendy says it. Of course, Wendy says it. Wendy, I'll get to you in a little bit, shortly. So they start talking about Stacy's cannabis company in the name. And so Tia's like, so I understand it's a Nigerian name. Just so you know, you're I don't think you're pronouncing it correctly. And then Wendy's like, as your friend. What's funny about this? Wendy, you had lunch with her in the last episode. She told you about the cannabis line. She told you the name. You didn't correct her on the name then. But it's interesting. You wait till you get around these group of girls. Even though you weren't nasty about it, it was kind of like, but you know what? Wendy and Stacy are one and the same, in my opinion. So, of course, they would be shady and untruthful to each other. It's part of their nature. Talking about as your friend, I would pronounce, you should know how to pronounce it. Okay. I hope you took note of that, Stacy. Interesting. Anyway, so they get on the float. It was cute. Ashley tells this story about coming out to her grandmother because Ashley is definitely bisexual. But what's funny though, I can't see her ending up with a woman. Like I can't. I totally see her ending up with a dude, but I could totally see her with a chick. And it was funny that her and Kay were kind of flirting. And she was like, this is my dream come true. I could see that. Kay's hot. Kay's a hottie. One thing I didn't like about this scene though is Wendy was throwing shade at the float. And then she's like, I thought GNA was a clothing brand. And then Giselle didn't realize they were having a float either, but she was like, hey, I love it. So Bravo starts being messy and putting footage back to when Wendy was talking about their businesses. The fucking irony that her with her 40 bank accounts, allegedly, your 40 different names. Girl, Pam, Miss Oliver, shut the fuck up, respectfully. Should they have been scamming people? At least they have a legitimate business. Girl, you ain't got shit. But 40 on 40 on 40. The irony that it's so funny to watch this shit now with her ass. It's like, you girl, shut up. Anyway, that really got on my nerves. And she does it a lot. And the irony that her and Mia, another one, like, shut the fuck up. I digress. So after the float, they all sit down and have lunch with each other. And they're talking to Monique about her marriage to Chris. And she talks about how there obviously wasn't an equal playing field in their marriage. She married an NFL star. She should have known right away it wasn't going to be equal. But he seems like he was kind of a dick. And to be honest, anyone that watched the show when they were on Love and Marriage DC, I remember the first episode. I was like, oh, they're not going to last. They were arguing in the first episode and proceeded to through the rest of the season. And then they quit the show. And then shortly after that, they got divorced. Um, it's funny because Giselle was like, I knew that she wasn't being her full self. She talked about it last week. Um, and what's crazy is I think Giselle and Monique are gonna end up being really cool with each other. And I think they have a lot in common. Because Giselle being married to Jamal Bryant, it's like you're living in your famous or notable husband's shadow. So I totally get that. Um, so Monique tells this story because Tia's like, when was it? When were you done? When were you finished? When were you knew the marriage was over? So she tells a story about how basically he was only nice to her when he wanted something, aka sex. And she said that she ended up giving him some, and then he kind of rolled over like it was nothing, and she felt like a piece of meat. And she basically said that's how she felt throughout the marriage. I could see that. I could see that. It was interesting to say that she was kind of done with him when their daughter Milani was three. What'd she say? 3 months old or 6 months old? I was like, you went on to have another baby with the man. And she said, this is what was interesting. She said, actually being in this group added years to my marriage when she knew she probably should have left. Very real, very interesting. I have a feeling her and Giselle are going to end up being really cool because they clearly have a lot in common. This was a good scene. Boy, is this scene gonna backfire later. Um, I like that the ladies are embracing Monique, but Monique seems very chill this time around in herself. Wendy asked, test the temperature with her, so let's get to Angel. So the next scene is Angel and her husband looking for a house in the DMV. I'm not spending too much time on her because she's annoying. And I don't want to end up being miserable like her. Anyway, in this scene, they go to this house. Her and the husband are in the back. And of course, she's talking about hanging out with a group of ladies. And of course, she brings up this fucking catfish bullshit again. This is what I don't understand. Why do you have such a fucking hard on for Wendy? I don't like Wendy either. But god damn, Angel, really? So basically, she's bringing up how her and Giselle talked, but she felt like Wendy was being nasty with the catfish comment. Wendy never said catfish. She never said the words catfish. They go back to the scene. Giselle's the one that said it. Wendy was over there laughing, absolutely, being nasty, laughing. And then she reiterated what Giselle said, but never actually used the words catfish. Angel, you're fucking weird. And what's funny, that shit that rumor about you being a mean girl that was brought to Jazzy I'm starting to believe that shit is true. You're an asshole. And the problem is you've been called out on being an asshole and you can't handle it. And the funny thing is, you never needed to be called out on being an asshole. We're watching it in real time. You can't let shit go. You can't let nothing go. You're annoying. I can't with her. I cannot. Please don't bring her back, Bravo. Don't bring her ass back. And you know what's funny? And I can hear her at the reunion now because they're gonna bring up the colorist shit. Because yes, bitch, you're colorist. You're fucking colorist. How you gonna backslide out of that shit? She's annoying. It's like she's a weirdo. She's a weirdo. I can't believe that Kay is friends with her. Like, oh. Anyway, so after that, Giselle, Tia, Ashley, and Kay meet up for lunch. Giselle's really happy because her podcast with Robin, Reasonably Shady, which is actually a good podcast, by the way. Most people think they're just talking about housewife shit. They talk about everything. It's actually really good. Check it out. But anyway, their podcast has reached 10 million views. They were nominated, I believe, for an NAACP award or Image Award, which is really awesome. Well, an NAACP is an Image Award anyway. I had to reiterate that to myself. And that's great, So she's having a party to celebrate. She wants to, everybody to come and bring the ladies, bring their husbands. The ladies bring their husbands, yada yada. So then Kay goes, so after Pride, I got a call from Cookie. Now y'all remember Cookie, the big busted lady that's friends with Karen, who we later find out is also friends. So anyway, so Kay says that after Pride, she gets a call from Cookie. So Cookie is Karen's friend who she still talks to. Big bust. She reminds me of Lunel. If y'all know the comedian Lunel, you know what I mean? She's giving me a Mae West. type of energy. But Cookie's messy. So anyway, she calls Kay and she's talking to Kay about whatever. And then she's like, hold on, Chris Samuels is calling. So she picks up the phone, talks to Chris, and then calls Kay back. And basically, Chris calls Cookie upset because he heard that Monique was talking about him, saying that he was possessive and had bad sex. So Kay's like, well, who told you that? And so they're all like, what? Who said it? And she's like, girl, it was Stacy. So Tia points something out. Tia goes, that's interesting that he called Cookie and she answered right away. Thank you. Always look at the bitch bringing the information to you as well. Always. Always look at the bone collector. So they're like, wow, why is Stacy running to him to tell him stuff that we're talking about? And they all agree like that was ridiculous. It was funny is when you watch the scene, Monique wasn't talking shit. She was telling her truth. And she wasn't being nasty about it. It is what it is. And they've been divorced for 2 years. Chris is messy. Chris, you your mom, aren't you? You your mother, aren't you? It just seems like something his mom would do. So of course that doesn't sit well with any of them. So the next scene, Wendy and Monique meet up. Great scene. Or not great, but it was a good scene. It was a good scene because Monique gave Wendy some good advice about Stacy. So anyway, they're talking about her coming back into the group. She talks about her and Wendy and the whole dynamic with those two and how it changed after the whole fight with Candace. And Wendy was like, people can change, blah, blah, blah. So Wendy asked her if she knows Cookie. Monique's like, yeah, she actually, or no, I'm sorry. So Monique asked Wendy if anybody's spoken to Karen. And Wendy's like, well, no one's talked to her. And then she tells her about how Stacy told her that Wendy was talking shit about her. And she talks about how she didn't show up to the reunion and she thanked everybody but Wendy. Karen clocked Wendy from day one. And it's crazy because I couldn't understand why she was cautious with Wendy, but it seems like she picked up on some shit that we all are learning about now. Karen could also be a hater too. She's like she has what Vicky Gumbelson has when a new lady joins the group. It's like, who is this bitch? But anyway, so she talks about Cookie and she's like, well, Cookie talks to Karen and then she tells us what's going on. And she's like, do you know Cookie? Monique goes, well, Cookie met Karen through me. So it turns out Monique and Cookie used to be friends. Monique doesn't like Cookie. She was like, what does she call her? A demonic entity. She says they met, she was at her, at Chris's birthday party. And she goes, yeah, we had like the godfather of, I'm sorry, I cannot remember what it's called. It's a genre of music here in DMV. And I'm not originally from here, so I don't know. But anyway, Cookie lies and tells Monique that she's the dude's daughter. And then she's like, she was no kin to him. And she's like, anybody that lies like that will lie about anything. Drew Sidora. Anyway. I'm such and such's cousin. Like, no, the fuck you not. Shut up. Anyway. So Monique, that for her to call Cookie a demonic entity is interesting. So Wendy goes, that's Giselle's best friend. And Monique's like, what? She's not Giselle's best friend. Because in the last scene, all the energy that was being brought back about what happened was from Kay. So she clearly talks to everybody in the group. And just before they start talking all about that, Monique asked about Wendy and Giselle's relationship. And Wendy's like, we're good. We're kind of friends. And she's like, you and Giselle definitely need to have a conversation. And Monique's like, yeah, we do. But it's funny, Wendy, you say you're cool with her, but then you throw that little nice, nasty, well, that's Giselle's best friend. Like, that's not her best friend, but okay. It's annoying. It is irritating to have to sit through this season and watch you do the bullshit that you're doing, knowing what we all know about you. That's a personal problem for me. I'm gonna quit annoying y'all with it, but I'm gonna point that shit out every time. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, interesting scene. Interesting to learn that Monique is the one that knew Cookie first, and now they don't even speak. I feel like Cookie wants to be on the show. I feel like she wants to be on the show. This just froze, but I feel like Cookie wants to be on the show. Um, and my thing is, why are you so invested in Chris Samuels, Cookie? What do you want him to? What you trying to sleep with Big Boy too, Cookie? Cookie? So the next scene, Tia meets up with Stacy and her husband Timo. Timu? Timo, is that his name? Anyway, it's giving human centipede. Um so Stacy is faker than a $3 bill. She's a very calculated individual. So this scene with her and Tia, she's very like, out of all the ladies, I wanted you to meet my husband because I feel like there's a connection and we have more in common. And I'm thinking, aren't you besties with Wendy? Um, Tina tells them about inviting them to a couples dinner that she's having with Wendy and Eddie. And he's like, well, I'm going to be leaving tomorrow on the plane. And she's like, yeah, he's going to be leaving. It just, is it me or do Stacy and her husband have no chemistry? I think he's agreeing to appear so she can solidify her spot on this show. It's very obvious that she's trying to fuck Chris Samuels. Yikes. But apparently she is. Cause why are you still talking to homie? Talking about we know each other socially. What does that mean? Cause you can have a whole dick in your mouth and still be social with somebody. So what are you talking about? I don't mean to be crass, but fuck it. What do you mean? Stacy's a trip. And it took me to the 8th episode to totally understand where the ladies are coming from about her. I totally understand Kay's animosity towards her too. Because it's almost like she gaslights you when you question her. It's crazy. Excuse me. So anyway, they can't go to the couples dinner with Tia and her husband. Okay, fine. So the next scene, Tia and her husband have their couples dinner with Wendy and Eddie. Cute scene. They have a lot in common. Excuse me again. And they're talking about how they have in common because they're both Nigerian, blah, blah, blah. So Tia starts talking about how she met up with Stacy and Timo, however you say homeboy's name, the day before. And she mentions how Stacy specifically told her that you know, she felt comfortable having Tia meet her husband because they had the most in common, all this shit. So Wendy feels some type of way. I just dropped something. So Wendy feels some type of way about that. So she calls Stacy on speakerphone and calls her out, and Stacy's lying. Stacy, you're a liar. You girl, you a liar and the truth ain't in you. And what's sad about you is you come in a packaging where you almost can come off believable depending on who you're around. Anyway, excuse me. Her and Tia, so they're continuing to go back and forth on the speakerphone, and Tia's and Stacy, I'm really sorry. I do consider you one of my closest friends, Tia. Tia's like hands the phone back to Wendy. They hang up, and she's like, she's full of shit. And she's like, I'm over here trying to defend her, and she's in an island all by herself, and she deserves to be on that island. Stacy, you're a trip. You a trip, homie. A trip. So anyway, we get to the reasonably shady 10 million views party, the beginning of it. Robin didn't come. I was kind of hoping that Robin would show up. It would have been nice to see her. She does not come. You could tell Giselle felt some type of way. She was just like, Robin didn't want to come based off how she left the group before. I get it. She's allowed to do that, but it would have been nice to have seen her. I mean, and for you to leave your friend hanging. Okay, so Giselle does her speech. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. So Tia confronts Stacy about lying about the whole dinner and when her husband's leaving. Stacy couldn't keep shit straight. Of course, Bravo rolls back when what's his face Timo said, "Oh, I fly out tomorrow." And she's like, "Yeah," but then she's like in the scene, well, he said he wasn't flying out till Wednesday, like just lying. So Tia's like, "I have no interest in being friends with you. You know, I got up early to come meet you and your daughter and your husband because I was genuinely interested, but I no longer want a friendship with you." So then that's when Kay chimes in about Monique and Cookie and what Stacy said. And Stacy, I don't know what you're talking about. You can repeat it over and over again. It doesn't make it true. So they bring Cookie over. And Kay, I love what Kay's like, Monique's over here having a real moment with us connecting. And she's over here trying to have an amicable co parenting situation. And then you go back and tell Chris that. So, of course, Homegirl's denying it. They bring Cookie over. Cookie want to be on the show. Cookie was ready. Cookie, did you think you was on Love and Hip Hop, girl? So Cookie's like, no, you said it. You said it to him. So they kind of start going back and forth. So then Wendy chimes in and is like, I met with Monique, and Monique said whenever's Cookie is around, she bashes Monique. So they go back to, and basically Monique was like, I can't be around anybody who talks shit about me, and smiles in my face. So of course Cookie is contesting that. Then her and Stacy are continuing to go back and forth. And Stacy, I guess, does this to her. Don't put your finger up there. Don't put your finger in my face. It was actually getting kind of embarrassing. So Kay and Stacy are continuing to go back and forth as well. And Kay is like, you're just a liar. Everything that you've said since you came into this group is a lie. I would never trust you around my husband. Stacy, no, before that, Stacy's like, every time you pipe up, it's because you're mad at me. And she goes, normally you're quiet, but now you're at it too. Okay, girl. So of course Wendy is like, I mean, Stacy was reading. She was reading you, Kay. She was kind of reading you, but she was doing that because she knows she's wrong. She knows she's wrong. So Kay's like, you're a liar, and I would never trust you around my husband. And Stacy's like, well, you don't have one. They're continuing to go back and forth, to be continued. Good episode. Cookie is a pot stirrer and wants to be on the show. I don't think anybody should be talking to her about anything. She's doing too much, especially with that outfit. Girl, what was you wearing? What was you wearing? Um, and Stacy's a little dangerous, I would say, because she lies with a straight face. That's a dangerous ass bitch. Anyway, we're on episode 8. This season's been really good so far. I haven't had a bad episode yet. Angel, please go away. Fly far, far away. Far, far away. Wherever Jenny was wishing she was with Forrest, baby, I need you to go there. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Stay hydrated, stay warm, be nice to each other. And I'm going to go return these video tapes.